Yesterday, we learned that repeated habits can train the brain. But today, we're going even deeper. Because this isn't only a battle in your mind, it's also a battle within your heart. The Bible describes it as a conflict between two opposing desires. In Galatians 5:16-17, the Apostle Paul writes, "Walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh." Notice something important. Paul doesn't say that Christians will never experience temptation. He says there is a battle. If you've chosen to follow Christ, there will be moments when your flesh pulls one way while God's Spirit leads another. That tension doesn't automatically mean you failed. It means you're in a real spiritual struggle. But here's where many people get discouraged. They mistake temptation for defeat. Temptation itself is not sin. Even Jesus was tempted in the wilderness. The difference is that he did not give in to temptation. So if you're being tempted today, don't immediately believe the lie that God has abandoned you. Instead, recognize the battle for what it is. Lust begins long before an action. It often starts with a thought, a glance that lingers, a fantasy that grows, a compromise that seems small. That's why Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Whatever fills your heart will eventually shape your choices. If you continually feed your flesh becomes stronger. If you continually feed your spirit becomes stronger. Think of it like two fires. The fire you keep adding wood to is the one that grows. Every time you spend time in God's Word, every sincere prayer, every act of obedience, every moment you choose to turn away from temptation, you're feeding your spirit. And every time you intentionally consume content that fuels lust, every time you entertain impure thoughts without resisting them, you're feeding your flesh. So ask yourself today, which one have I been feeding more? This series isn't about pretending the battle doesn't exist. It's about learning how to fight wisely. God has not called you to fight alone. He has given you His Spirit. He has given you His Word. He has given you a community of believers. And He has promised that His grace is sufficient when you are weak. If you've fallen many times, don't conclude that freedom is impossible. Instead, let every failure become a reminder that you need God's strength more than your own. Victory is often built through many daily decisions. One prayer, one choice, one act of obedience at a time. And over time, those small victories become a transformed life. So today, don't just ask God to remove temptation. Ask Him to strengthen your spirit. Because when your spirit grows stronger, your flesh loses its control. Freedom begins there.